Hey everybody, welcome back to Decadence Weekly. We're on episode 9. I'm joined as always by my good buddy Dread, and I really like this week's episode a lot. Some really cool pivotal moments for the series, I think. Um, and we get confrontation, we get some action, we get some heroic action going on, and of course a big revelation at the end where our girl is going to find out stuff hidden behind the curtain from humanity here. But I did enjoy this a lot. It's really like showcased a lot of like what I've been liking about the show recently. Like I like this like little crew of that Kaburagi is hanging out with, Jill, Donatello, and such. It to an extent Sark, who really had to redeem himself here. But I like that little crew of characters, and they really pulled through in this episode. And then we get an interesting action between Hugin and Kaburagi. Um, and this sort of I want to know kind of your thought on this. Like the events of this episode sort of cemented a little bit to me that I think that this is going to end at a single core. Like I kind of think that we're already like making moves toward like at least showcasing to, if we don't showcase like what's actually happening to all of humanity, the main girl is going to find out, at least to a certain extent. And then I think we might reach some sort of conclusion with that. And I think that they will be able to wrap that up relatively soon. I'm not trying to say like they're rushing it at all or anything. I feel like this week made me more confident that I think that we're going to end at the 12 or 13, whatever the actual plan is. Because I don't really see much escape from like the situation that like they've already, like we've already had like physical conflict between Kaburagi and Hugin, which I don't think is over. Like I think that's going to happen like again. Um who knows how big, like much more grand of a scale it's going to be. Who's to say if we like end up like losing more characters? Because there was a moment in this episode that I got really my heart kind of skipped a beat for a second, and I think you could probably predict the moment that I'm
What
talking
moment it
about.
was, because mine did too.
When main girl almost bit the dust. Natsume, it looked like Natsume was going to be stabbed like through the chest, but
Jill
surprise,
pulled through.
surprise, Jill pulled through. I told you Jill was great. Um, was that the same moment for you?
Yeah, there was that moment, and then I kind of cried near the end,
It is.
which I'll explain when we get talking more about the ending. But
Mm-hmm,
as for like my thoughts on if this is gonna be ending in
mm-hmm.
3 episodes,
3 episodes.
well, based on the ending, we still have a quarter of the show to cover what could come next. And I think the prediction that while this may be the end of Decadence as a game, because what is Decadence without the Godals?
Mm-hmm.
There's two routes that they can take. Either they find a way to revive Godals, I guess three maybe. There's another facility that creates them, or this is going to create a domino effect into the other fortresses. And like I was saying, I don't necessarily think they need to take out multiple fortresses. I think if Solid Quake controls all of them, destroying one, taking out its director, is going to put the other ones on high alert.
Mm-hmm.
So either we're going to get a in 3 episodes, I think if they go on high alert, we'd either get a bittersweet end where they fail in taking out the other fortresses, which I kind of doubt this show would go for, or we might end up with a possibly second season if they want to take that route. But I feel like with 3 episodes left, they're gonna rather take a route where the destruction of Decadence is such a detriment to whatever Solid Quake is, whatever you want to call their race. Are they gears as well? We're not really clued into that. But Solid Quake as a company might take too much of a financial beating from this and might just go elsewhere and start all over again with another race wherever in the universe.
Yeah. I was kind of seeing like the the outpost that we're dealing with in the series, like while there's like seemingly like and shown on the globe or whatever, like other like outposts. I do think that this would probably be, I would predict that this is probably like the most influential one, whereas I don't know if like like I would assume that my assumption is that like they're the only one that's like in charge of like Godal creation. So
Like I was saying last week, there's the possibility that Decadence, we know the draw to it is the humans. And we know another draw to it is the Oxyone.
yeah.
And the thrill of fighting the Godals. I don't think these other companies or outposts, fortresses, I assume they're all run by Solid Quake.
Yeah.
I would kind of find it hard to believe that they also use Godals. They probably use some other life form that's synthetically manufactured. There's also the possibility, which I don't think we even really considered, that every fortress is a Decadence, just in a different area of the world. So if one Decadence goes down, right, what's to say they can't destroy the other ones and they just withdraw them before that happens? They could do it as a safety measure. Yeah,
Solid Quake would withdraw.
just as a safety measure, possibly. There's still, I think, a lot of routes that the show could take.
For sure.
With 3 episodes, I think it's still hard to tell where that's going to be drawn, because I'm starting to see the possibility that we talked about last week that Kaburagi might go down the route of a martyr.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
And if that's the case, then a second season would focus solely on Natsume. And it would kind of, I would like to see, at least if the story were to continue, a story focused on her from the lessons that Kaburagi taught her, and possibly her passing it down to somebody else.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. I do think that like I am also like I'm definitely of the volition that I think Kaburagi will probably end up not surviving through the end of the show. But I do see it as like do I want more Decadence? Yeah. But if I had to put like my chips on the table, I would say that what's probably going to happen is we're going to defeat Solid Quake. Kaburagi is the martyr for everything. Natsume finds out at least a good portion of the truth. Is definitely going to have some sort
that
of
conversation is going to happen next episode.
That conversation is going to happen, and then I my guess is like because I think that this will probably, as much as I want more, if it is just one season, then what's going to happen is they're going to knock down Solid Quake like within like this. If they're all like Solid Quake outposts per se, then we defeat what's in front of us, and so the Godal thing is shut down. And if that one goes, maybe the others just sort of like you said withdraw, and then then we end on a note where it's Natsume basically proclaiming that humanity should be fighting for themselves, and and like this is sort of like their planet or something like that. Um, and I would also welcome the other alley to that. Is that like, okay, we beat one, now we go into the other. Um, what's next? And then at that point, I'm with you. I would definitely like to see that Natsume shift. I've been anchoring for more of a Natsume shift for a little bit, probably preemptive. Admittedly, probably I think.
I think this episode is the sign of that starting to happen.
Yeah. It made me really excited for the rest of this because we have now landed a huge blow to Solid Quake because of an unlikely hero, I guess, in our man Sark. This Sark as a character or somebody like I wasn't like super into when he was first introduced. Like it was like.
I mean, I can't say I'm still super into him. He did a cool thing at the end, and I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like, oh yeah, that's my favorite character.
I don't think anybody would say that.
I actually should go on my anime list and see how many people listed him as a favorite. I'm sure he's got maybe 5.
Oh man. But he was sort of tricked by Turkey previously to basically betray his friends.
I guess our predictions in terms of what Turkey was doing, like we were kind of both right.
Yeah.
Like Turkey was obviously trying to, have fun and get on part, and he was doing it for his own gain.
Yeah. What a selfish piece of shit.
But he ended up taking out Sark in the process and felt no remorse. Yeah. So, I guess we were kind of both right.
And sadly, we see Sark's end. But he goes out.
He went out with a bang.
A huge bang. So now, seemingly, the Godal factory is devastated. I'm assuming, like, beyond repair. At least.
Well, between the shock that that Sark brought, I don't know why his name escaped me when we were just talking about him.
It's okay.
The shit that the prisoners burned, and the GGS being activated by Natsume and Kabu.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that facility is going to see the light of day. Oh, and the fight Hugin and Kabu had.
Yeah, I wanted to mention. Yeah,
entering like Oxyone just flooded into that facility.
And it's also interesting they polluted all the water. With the shit or whatever. So in this episode we learned that the Godal is it that they have to incubate within water for a certain amount of time or something? It's something to do with their species that they have to.
Yeah, they're a specific type of species that basically grows in water.
I found it interesting that we're solving our problem with pollution, yet pollution caused humanity's problems.
That is actually really funny. So now that you bring that up, because I didn't think about that when Turkey and Sark were commanding the prisoners to do that, could this also lead to a new age of Earth
I think so for sure.
where the humans reclaim Earth based on the gear's pollution?
I think that's where they're heading. I think we're heading towards something like that. Um, uh, and okay, the fight. We need to bring up this fight too.
So before we even talk about it,
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
to say that this fight, I actually really fucking loved it.
yeah.
And like when I think of like my favorite anime fights and everything, like no joke, I think of like Rui versus Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Even though I'm not the biggest like Demon Slayer fan,
Mm-hmm.
I think of that. I think of shit like the Chunin exams.
Yeah.
I think of shit like
Sword of the Stranger. For me,
you mean the fight that is the film?
the fight that like
The fight. Okay, Sword of the Stranger. I'll give
uh,
that because that looked beautiful.
Cowboy Bebop the movie has a really cool fight.
I
Cowboy
actually
Bebop.
haven't seen the movie,
Okay.
so I'm bad there. I
Cowboy
haven't
Bebop the
seen.
series, Vicious and Spike, very cool fight as well.
Yes, if anything, I remember from that, it's the final one
Um,
and the Marineford War from One Piece.
oh, I haven't gotten there yet.
Um, I've got other ones, but just off the top of my head, there, this fight, I'm clumping in with them.
Really, it climbed into your top list.
Yeah, yes.
It's I'd have to. I haven't You know what? I haven't thought about like putting it onto my list of favorite fights, but I did. I want to watch it again, like just that fight, just because like it's very interesting how because they play with like the gravity thing, and in this fight, it's really cool because you have Kaburagi, who we've perceived as this uh like military badass type dude, a really good fighter, um, uh, you know, carrying basically like Natsume into this, who's sort of new to it, but still coming into her own. And then we have Hugen, right?
Yeah.
I always forget this dude's name. Uh, who we haven't seen really in action yet, besides of just like pulling up a gun and shooting somebody and pressing buttons that where machines do his shit for him. Um, he actually really I don't know if I want to say it surprised me because obviously I was like this guy has to be sort of badass in some regard, but I like the speed at which this fight goes and like it playing with the gravity and then like you bring in the water, like it had elements of like of that speed, the combat, the different like floating in the air. Then you like I said, you brought in like the water. You had then the interference by Jill, making the friggin' shadow clones.
From like a narrative example, like a narrative perspective though, think about how it is. Like they're going into this facility and obviously they're going to run into trouble. They're worried about security. But security seems down because of everything. But they're still keeping their guard up. They're not like just going in there like, "Oh, the security's down, we're good." They're still on edge. And as soon as they get in that big room, he's just standing there.
Yeah.
And Kabu's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hide.
Yeah.
Just straight up hide. And before he even gets a chance, Hugin's in his face.
Yeah. I love how they frame it. How he's like at first like below them, right? And then but still fully in vision. So it's like
Yes.
so it's kind of like it made me like feel like I was almost like a like those moments where you're playing like hide and seek when you're young and it's like wait, can he see me? Oh fuck, he can definitely see me. And it's
And
not a
I also like how it's framed, like you said, like they're above him. They have the higher ground, but he's down there. Also, Kaburagi's in this body that he's grown used to, yes, fighting a different species,
Yeah.
not fighting something that he's interacted with in his real body. And that body of what he's fighting is also in a different body. So there's all sorts of like variables going on just in the entry of the fight. Then the fight actually happens. They're tussling around. We're hoping that nothing happens, and Hugin just shoves his arm through Natsume.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when our hearts drop.
Yeah. I thought she was gonna be dead.
And I remember looking at it, I'm like, she's not dead. Like, they're playing a game. Like, right? She's gonna pull some shit, like, I don't know what I was thinking.
It was
But
a Sharingan. He was trapped in an infinite Tsukiyomi though.
I wasn't thinking any specific thing, but I thought, no, she's not dead. It can't be. I'm like, initial reaction, fuck, she's dead. Then I think, just as I'm watching how his arm is through her,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, they wouldn't kill her. At least not now. And then she digitizes, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. Data clone jutsu. That's what it was.
I think it's interesting too that take a mental note on this scene because they are not afraid to make you fear that.
Yes.
So I think, like we were saying, I'm pretty like I have a feeling Kaburagi's gonna die.
I also like how during the fight, and even slightly before it, when Hugin's speaking, before he jumps at Kaburagi, Hugin's not afraid of the humans knowing what's really going on. Because he's saying everything right in front of Natsume.
Yeah.
Which I think plays into their superiority over the humans.
Yeah. Oh, it's this bug that's all the trouble or something. Like.
But he's like, you betrayed the system. I've told you, bugs must be eradicated.
Yeah.
This world does not need bugs. And like, this human girl's just sitting here. She's like, what do you mean bugs? What do you mean system? Who are you? Why is he so fast?
I'm just a little girl trying to float around and beat up Godot. What's going on?
And then you walk into the core.
Mm-hmm. I so thought they were going to get interrupted while doing the
genocide system.
Yeah. Because they set it up, they're like, okay, 3, 2. I thought on 1, like Hugin was gonna like grab Natsume and like fly away somewhere.
I really like that scene too.
Yeah.
Because when Kabu turns the panel on and goes into the GGS and the lever comes up, and they have to push it down together, one on each side. Part of it makes me think of that section of the Sector 5 reactor in Final Fantasy VII, where you spent all the time just trying to press the buttons all together on time, which was annoying as hell. But another part of me feels like this is them doing it together.
Yeah.
And part of me feels like the next episode is going to open up with the lever going down and Kabu falling over it. Yeah. As he says, this world was manufactured.
Yeah.
And I like how they returned to the words he was originally going to say out of anger. He didn't say something else. He didn't say, this world, the Gadals, and even my body, they aren't real. He said, they're all manufactured. Just like he cut himself off with in the beginning when he said, they're all
Yeah.
and cut himself off because he was going to make a mistake. Which tells me a lot about Kaburagi's growth as a character, where he kind of not necessarily regrets not telling her in that moment, but knew that those were the words that needed to be said. And now I'm interested in seeing what this ends up meaning for Natsume's father.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if he was a tanker that just died.
We don't know his knowledge. We don't know.
Or if he was a gear that had to start a new avatar.
Yeah, and then you get the sense of, like, let's say if he was a tanker and lived his life with, like, the base knowledge that, like, the other tankers have, and did everything that he ended up doing in life and everything, all for this. Like if you're Natsume and if you're any human finding out about this, you've been, like, sort of living this big lie. So it's like, what are people, like, dying for? Like, what are people, like, for this weird cyborg game? So I think we're gonna see some strong emotions from Natsume in this next episode. I wanted to mention this too. We said goodbye to Pipe.
So that's why I cried. As I saw the Gadals, like, digitizing.
Yeah.
I thought back to the scene where Kabu says bye to Pipe. And a little before he pulls the lever, it's like right before they walk into the room, it flashes like a really quick image of Pipe on the screen. And it doesn't give you enough time to, like, realize, oh, this is the room for the GGS, and Pipe was on the screen. Pipe's gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
Natsume also doesn't know this.
Yeah. She's about to find out.
So I started crying because I'm like, Pipe did nothing wrong.
That's me. Buy Dread shirt on Teespring right now. Pipe did nothing wrong.
Obviously, he had a connection to Kaburagi, and that's gonna hurt Kaburagi. It's like losing a pet. And obviously, it's gonna hurt Natsume. And how's Natsume gonna take this after learning that the world is manufactured? Because she's not gonna care that a Gadal is a manufactured life form. Pipe was her friend.
Hopefully she takes it with sorrow and then righteous fury. And she becomes, like, the battle angel, like Alita, that we all need.
The battle angel Alita.
But yeah, this was a great episode.
I think this is my favorite episode so far.
I think I would agree. I really liked, like, in, like, 2 when, like, basically the world gets, like, flipped around. Like, you find out, like, what you start to be told, like, of what stuff is and how you didn't think how it was in episode 1.
It's like flipping it again.
Yeah, and then this does it again, and this makes me all the more excited for future episodes.
What I'm most excited about now is to see how much truth, because we've been thinking from the beginning that there was propaganda going on, and we've seen little hints and pieces of that. I'm still interested to see if the endangerment of the humans was as Solid Quake told us. Or if that too
It's fabricated.
was a fabricated story to manipulate the gears.
Man. Oh my god, I don't know. This show is such a gem. It is so cool. And the other reason that I guess I should have researched this before we started talking, but because I was kind of pessimistic about more seasons. How many anime originals get multiple seasons?
Off the top of my head, the one that really comes to mind, like I said, either last week or the one before, was Psychopaths. As divisive as, the other
Season 2 is.
beyond the first could be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's others that I'm just like not thinking of. You I guess you could consider possibly the films for Gurren Lagann because they added extra, but it's not like really a second season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally just scrolling through
my
right now and just trying to.
guess with me leaning back in my chair is that I think
Very few.
very few get more than one season. If I'm very stupid, please let me know in the chat down below.
How could I forget Code Geass?
Oh yeah, me too. And then they got that new movie. That was
yeah. So technically 2 sequels there.
If there's others, let me know in the comments. Tell me I'm stupid. I like when people do that.
Depends how you feel about it. You could consider the rebuild movies for Ava as sequels. Fooly Cooley, as divisive as those are too.
But like by the time the rebuilds were like made, like Ava was an enormous franchise. So,
yes,
like this is not
clearly.
But yeah, I don't know. That just is another factor I'm sort of putting into this.
We have Eden of the East too, which had 2 movie sequels.
Okay. So maybe we'll see a movie sequel. That'd be pretty interesting. This with a higher budget would be cool. Not that it looks bad, but
I think it could use some polish. There are rough edges in certain scenes. Yeah. It could use a little more polish.
But for a show that has to blend like 2 like pretty starkly different art styles,
it does it pretty well.
Yeah, it doesn't feel too odd. If I'm waiting for the moment where Natsume meets, if she ever gets to meet Cyborg Kaburagi.
Well, so that's a good point because as they enter the Gadal facility, we know that Kabu's real body is underneath it, so his avatar and his real body can exist on the same planet.
Yeah.
Which means, can the cyborg body live on the surface?
Yeah, can he just can he live happily ever after as Cyborg Kaburagi?
I don't see why he couldn't. We haven't been clued into anything that would prevent them from doing so, and it seems beforehand they did.
They need Oxyone, right? That's like their food, their life force thing.
Well, Oxyone is Oxyone comes from the Gadals, though.
Right. So if we're destroying that system, is Kaburagi...
But what we don't know is if the cyborgs always need an Oxyone, or if when these select cyborgs were taken in by Solid Quake, that they were enhanced to have a
They made them.
necessity for it.
They made them like reliant on solid
Yeah.
chlorpronoxione. Interesting.
Yes.
It's an interesting thought. I'm super excited for what's to come. This is very, very much a gem of a show that I'm glad is picking up some attention. And so, if you guys really like this episode, let us know down below. And as always, please check out Dread's channel. I'll have a link to that. I mean, I don't know what you're doing if you're watching this episode and you still haven't bothered to look at his channel yet. Just saying. 9 weeks into this, goddamn. But if you also want to maybe support me a little bit, I do have a link to a Patreon in the description box.
There's a donate button.
Thank you to everybody that helps me on a Patreon already. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. My name is Miasma, and I'll see you next time.